I want to share a theory about noema that connects to the nature of cognition and the logical negation. So the other day I was in a train and I wasn't scrolling my phone or talking to anyone. I was just gazing out the window and letting my thoughts wander. I was wondering about the word noema. So noema is a Greek word meaning the content or object of a thought. So it seems quite abstract, but it's very simple. Like if you see a chair in front of you, there is the physical object of the chair and the idea of the chair in your mind. So the idea of the chair is a noema. And noema stems from the word noesis, and this word gave noesis, that means the process of thinking or creating noema, and noetic, an adjective relating to noema, thoughts, or noesis. But there is another word, nous. Nous basically means mind, or the place where noesis happens. But what's strange about the word nous is that it doesn't share common roots with the others. But all these words begin with no and o. But could no be the root? No is just a word, it means negation, and just 2 letters. It doesn't mean anything, right? And at first hand, these words have nothing to do with negation. But according to this theory, they are connected to the negation. So when you think, you have a logical process in your mind. You manipulate concepts. And concepts are made with negations. Like, I take a concept, I negate it, or do the opposites, and I get another concept. Like, I have full, the negation of full is empty. I have dark, the negation of dark is light. And when you read a dictionary, almost all definitions use the negation of a concept to describe another concept. And in mathematics, it works a bit like that. Like every logical proposition has a negation, and human minds use a kind of logic. But what about computers? So computers think with a processor. The processor is like the brain of the computer. It's composed of very tiny things called transistors or logic gates, and these things perform very elementary computations. Like with true and false, you get false. With true or false, you get true. And with not true, you get false. So these operators, true, and not, these are the basic elementary components of all computers' computations. So whatever your computer is doing, it uses these 3 logical operators or logic gates. And there are other logic gates, but all logic gates can be expressed with a not logic gate and another logic gate. So the not logic gate is necessary and fundamental to computers' computation. And the truth and false of computers is bits, the ones and zeros. But what about ideas? We can manipulate concepts, but how do chatbots manipulate concepts? So chatbots are based on technology called LLMs, large language models, and what LLMs do is they map words on a very high dimensional space. They map each word to a point on that space, and every dimensions of that space corresponds roughly to a notion. Like if I decide to plot the word stone, plants, insects and animal in this hyperspace, I will see that they are kind of aligned along an axis or a dimensions, and this dimension is not labeled, but we can understand this dimension as a dimension of aliveness. So the stone is very low alive or not alive at all, and an animal is very alive, but or it's more alive than an insect or a plant. And that's one example of a dimension. You could also have a dimension of artificiality, like if I map a stone, a piece of wood, a chair and a smartphone. The stone is not artificial, it's not technological. The piece of wood is crafted by a human, so it's very low artificial, and the smartphone is very highly artificial or technological. So every word is mapped on this hyperspace and has a lot of notions attached to them. But what's the link with negation? If you take the word king and the word man, you can do king minus man, and you will get a point or a vector very close to the vector of the word queen. So LLMs understand words, represent words as relations with other words or negations of other words or concepts. You probably guessed due to my accent that I'm French, and I noticed an interesting connection with both French and English. It's about the word not. So not, you have N-O-T, the negation, and not, K-N-O-T, that is the thing you do with your shoelace. It sounds the same, and in French too. You have ne, translation of the negation, or not, and ne, spelled differently, that is the thing you do with your shoelace too, or rope, or string, and it sounds the same. And in French we have an expression, se faire des nœuds au cerveau. It means doing knots in the brain. And I think knots is a very good representation of how cognition and thoughts work. Knots is concepts put together in a certain way. Concepts can reference itself, can turn around other concepts, or you can have a linear thoughts or multiple linear thoughts coming together to make a new thing. And what I described is both the knots and the brain, the mind. And there is an also interesting thing in French. It's about the word nous. So nous is mind in Greek, and nous, written exactly the same, N-O-U-S, is the translation of we. And apparently there's no connection between the two, just a coincidence, because we is a collective and mind is personal. I have my own mind, you have your own mind, but that might be not really true. If you look at Carl Jung's work, you'll see that our psyche is composed of different parts. Conscious part, personal, an unconscious part, also personal, but this unconscious part is rooted in a larger unconscious called the collective unconscious. This collective unconscious is about all humanity. And according to Carl Jung, there are ideas you don't really craft in your mind, they come from that collective unconscious. Like the idea of the mother. Jung called these ideas archetypes. The idea of the mother is personal for everyone. I have my own representation of the mother, but everybody has the concept of the mother in the mind. The mother is a universal concept that comes from what he calls the collective unconscious. So, according to Carl Jung, there are ideas that are universal concepts that we use in our minds, that express through our dreams, through our thoughts, but they do not come from ourselves really. And it's kind of similar to what Plato thought. So Plato thought that there is a physical world with physical matter and physical objects, and there is also a world of forms or ideas, and these forms project onto or incarnate into the physical world. So if I see a cube, it's an abstract piece of matter, but that contains the idea of the cube, and there are an infinite different way of representing a cube, but all this cube contain the idea of the cube. And I said earlier that nous is a translation of we, but we can also be translated as on, written on, and it's the inverse of no. And on is a pronoun in French that is very close to nous, but on represents both everyone and no one. I can say on est vendredi aujourd'hui, today is Friday, I am not Friday, you are not Friday, no one is Friday, but it's Friday for everyone. It's just being Friday. So on represents just the being. And how do we call the study of being? That's ontology. And the loop is closed. I don't know if I'm going mad or not. Tell me what do you think about this. And thanks for listening.